They convicted her without evidence, no witnesses, no confession, just whispers and hate. Click on subscribe button for more interesting content on our YouTube channel and tune on your notifications so you won't miss out on our interesting videos. Let's continue. Her name was Clara Hensley, a registered nurse with 12 years of spotless service, known for her calm, caring touch. And yet, the court called her a cold-blooded killer. The victim? Daniel Moore, her ex-lover, once her patient, a man who had once called her his angel in white. It all started one quiet night in Crestview General Hospital, a place that smelled of antiseptic and secrets. Daniel had been admitted after a minor car accident, nothing fatal, but by morning, he was dead. Within hours, Clara was blamed. The strange thing was, there was no cause of death, no toxins, no signs of struggle. The monitors just showed his heart stopping like it had chosen to quit. Still, the hospital administrators and police didn't hesitate. They said Clara poisoned him. The story was perfect for headlines: betrayed nurse takes revenge on former lover. It sold papers, boosted careers, and destroyed a life. But behind that headline was jealousy and quiet hate. Before the death, Clara was admired by patients and praised by supervisors, but some male colleagues had a different view. They said she was too confident, too smart, too independent. When she rejected their advances, the jokes started, the rumors followed, and soon, she was the woman everyone whispered about in the break room. Then came Daniel, a charming, divorced architect with an easy smile. He came in with a biking injury, and she treated him. They clicked immediately. Coffee breaks became dinners, dinners became something deeper. But Daniel wasn't who he seemed. He drank too much, lied often, and flirted with other nurses. When Clara ended it, he made sure everyone knew he was the victim. He called her obsessive. Dangerous. A month later, he was back, under her care. That night, Daniel joked that fate had brought them together again. He even requested her personally. She checked his vitals, normal. He complained of chest tightness, she adjusted his meds and documented everything. By 2:14 a.m., the heart monitor beeped. By 2:17, he was gone. She performed CPR, called the crash team, followed every protocol, but nothing worked. He was pronounced dead at 2:35 a.m. The next day, detectives knocked on her door. "Miss Hensley, did you administer anything unauthorized?" "No." "Did you have a relationship with the deceased?" "Yes, but it ended months ago." "Did you want him dead?" "Absolutely not." But they didn't believe her. They already had their story. Soon, the media tore her apart. Headlines screamed, "Lover nurse turned killer, revenge by injection." It didn't matter that the toxicology came back clean. It didn't matter that every medication was verified. What mattered was how she looked: calm, collected, heartbreakingly beautiful. The public called it a mask of guilt. During the trial, the prosecutor said she'd used succinylcholine, a paralytic that disappears from the body after death. But there was no trace of it, no physical proof. Still, one man sealed her fate: Mark Dalton, a fellow nurse who had always made advances Clara ignored. He took the stand and claimed Clara once said, "If Daniel hurts me again, I'll make sure he never hurts anyone else." Clara denied it, but it didn't matter. The jury saw her as a woman scorned. The verdict: guilty of second-degree murder. 25 years to life. No hard proof. No witnesses. Just the words of bitter coworkers and a dead man's silence. But the cracks began to show a year later. A new nurse, Erin Walsh, joined Crestview. One night, while cleaning out an old locker, she found something strange: a box of unused medication vials, all labeled with Daniel's patient code, all logged under someone else's name. Mark Dalton's. Erin reported it immediately, but the report vanished the next day. Then she found a note taped to her locker: "Stop digging." A week later, she was transferred. Meanwhile, Clara sat in prison, still proclaiming her innocence, writing letters that went unanswered. Until one night, an envelope arrived. Inside, a photo. Daniel, weeks before his death, at a party, with Mark Dalton's arm around him. What no one knew was that Daniel and Mark weren't just colleagues. They shared something secret. Something the hospital buried. Suddenly, the question wasn't who killed Daniel, but who really had reason to make him disappear. Years later, a retired investigator reopened the case. He found missing files, altered witness statements, and deleted hospital footage from that night. Someone had covered their tracks. Someone with access. And maybe, someone still working there. Clara remained behind bars, writing one line in her diary every night: "The truth always bleeds through." And maybe it was starting to. Because now, a former doctor from Crestview is breaking his silence. He claims the night Daniel died, Mark Dalton wasn't just on duty, he was in Daniel's room, minutes before the alarms went off. So if Clara didn't kill him, who did? And why? The truth might be darker than anyone imagined. Clara's case is about to be reopened, but one question still hangs in the air like a heartbeat waiting to stop: if the real killer is still inside Crestview General, who will they silence next? 3 years after Clara's conviction, Crestview General was still trying to bury the story, but secrets have a way of clawing to the surface. The new investigator, Detective Mason Cole, had one goal: prove what everyone else was too afraid to say. Clara Hensley was innocent. He started with hospital records, those that survived the quiet system upgrades. Hidden between old maintenance logs, he found a timestamp: 2:10 a.m., 4 minutes before Daniel's heart stopped. It showed an access card swiping into Daniel's room. The name on the card: Mark Dalton. The same man who testified against her. But Dalton claimed he was on another floor. The log said otherwise. Mason confronted the hospital's head of security, who suddenly forgot everything. Files went missing again. Cameras erased. But Mason made a copy, this time off the grid. The more he dug, the more it reeked of conspiracy. The hospital was protecting someone. Or something. He tracked down Erin Walsh, the nurse who had been transferred after finding the mislabeled vials. When he finally met her, she looked terrified. "You don't know what you're dealing with," she whispered. Mark wasn't acting alone. Before Mason could ask who else was involved, Erin's car was found burned that night outside the city. No witnesses. No survivors. But inside the wreck, something survived: her bag. Inside it, a USB drive labeled "For Clara." Mason plugged it in. Video files. Hospital security footage from the night Daniel died, copied before deletion. He watched closely. At 2:10 a.m., Dalton entered Daniel's room. He looked nervous, kept glancing at the hallway. He closed the blinds, leaned over the bed, injected something into the 4-line, and whispered something to Daniel. Then he left. 3 minutes later, the alarms screamed. Mason took the footage straight to the DA's office. But the hospital denied everything. They said the video was fake, tampered with, impossible. Until Mason uncovered Dalton's personal storage locker. Inside, empty vials, falsified patient logs, and one damning notebook. Page after page of angry scribbles. He said he'd tell them about us. He promised he'd keep quiet. She ruined everything. The motive hit like lightning. Dalton and Daniel had been lovers. When Daniel threatened to expose their affair, and the medication thefts Dalton was running under false patient codes, Dalton panicked. He silenced him. And when Clara became the easiest target, he handed her to the wolves. Mason presented the evidence. The DA reopened the case. Clara's conviction was overturned after 7 years behind bars. Reporters called it redemption. But for Clara, it felt like waking up in someone else's nightmare. She was free, but nothing felt right. Because Dalton had vanished. Gone without a trace. Until one night, a letter arrived at Clara's new apartment. No return address. Just a single line written in Dalton's handwriting: "You weren't supposed to be free." Days later, police found a body floating near the river. Male, mid-30s, white coat still on. It was Dalton, or what was left of him. A syringe lay beside him. The autopsy revealed traces of succinylcholine, the same drug he once claimed Clara used. It looked like poetic justice. But Mason wasn't convinced. The angles didn't match. The injection site wasn't self-inflicted. Someone wanted it to look like suicide. Someone cleaning up the last loose end. Then, during evidence review, Mason noticed something chilling. On Dalton's wrist was a faint stamp, the kind used for restricted access in hospital basements. Crestview's morgue. Which meant, before his death, he'd been there. And if he was there, he wasn't alone. Mason returned to the hospital one last time. It was late. The halls were quiet. Too quiet. Down in the morgue, he found the door unlocked. Inside, rows of cold drawers. One open. Empty. On the wall, a fresh note written in red marker, "The nurse was never the problem." He froze. Then his phone buzzed, a notification. A new email. No sender. Just an attachment, a short video clip. Security footage. Timestamp, one night before Dalton's death. The video showed Dalton arguing with someone in a lab coat. The face turned toward the camera, Dr. Howard Graves, head of medicine at Crestview, the man who testified against Clara, the one who pushed hardest for her conviction. Graves said something that barely carried through the static, "You talk, and we both burn." Then the clip cut to black. Mason's heart pounded. He knew what that meant. Dalton didn't act alone. Graves had orchestrated everything: Daniel's murder, the cover-up, Clara's framing, even Dalton's silencing. But before Mason could move, footsteps echoed behind him. The morgue door creaked shut. The lights flickered. A voice whispered, "You should have left this alone." Then everything went dark. The next morning, the hospital reported a break-in. No signs of struggle, no missing files, except one. The entire case folder on Clara Hensley was gone. Clara herself disappeared 2 weeks later. No phone, no trace, no goodbye. Some say she ran. Others say someone made her vanish. But one thing's certain, Crestview General still stands. Same walls. Same staff. Same secrets. And late at night, nurses swear they hear a woman's voice in the corridors whispering the same line over and over: "The truth always bleeds through."